Iron Man was given one final order: stop Superman at any cost. But he didn't expect Captain America to stand in his way. What caused Earth's greatest heroes to turn on each other? Was Superman a threat or a misunderstood savior? As lines blurred between justice and power, Tony Stark prepared for the ultimate confrontation. But Steve Rogers held a secret, one that could change everything. And in the end, someone wasn't walking away. The world didn't notice it at first. No explosions. No cities turned to ash. No alien armies crashing through the clouds. Just silence. Superman had stopped speaking to anyone. Not the Justice League. Not the UN. Not even Lois. It began after the incident in Cairo. A rogue military faction was seconds from unleashing a chemical weapon in the heart of the city. No time for diplomacy. No time for red tape. Superman acted swift, brutal, surgical. He flew in, vaporized the weapon, incinerated the convoy, and left without a word. Hundreds died. Most of them were soldiers. A few were civilians. Collateral damage, they said. The world split down the middle. Some saw a savior doing what others wouldn't. Others saw God who'd stopped asking permission. Tony Stark watched the footage 47 times, frame by frame. Every movement, every expression. It wasn't rage in Superman's face. It was something else. Detachment. A week later, Stark was summoned to a hidden facility in the Arctic, deep beneath the ice, beyond any government's reach. A round table waited for him. Not S.H.I.E.L.D., not the Avengers. Something older, something darker. A council of global power brokers who claimed to act for the balance of the world. They didn't ask Stark to join them. They ordered him to carry out a mission: terminate Superman. Tony laughed at first. Then he saw the data, the predictions, the fail-safes that had already failed, the models that showed how, within 18 months, Superman could become the single greatest threat to human sovereignty. Not through war, but by indifference, by no longer caring about their rules, about their authority, about them. Do it your way, one of the councilmen said, but do it now. Tony didn't sleep for 3 days. When he finally looked in the mirror, he saw it in his own eyes. Doubt. The kind that coils around your spine when the math is right, but the heart refuses to follow. Because this wasn't Thanos. This wasn't Ultron. This was Clark, the man who held back every time. The one who could have ruled Earth 1,000 times over and never did. Still, what if something had changed? So Tony built, not a suit, a protocol. Sunfall. A precision satellite array armed with red solar emitters, kryptonite darts, and gravity anchors tuned to disrupt flight at a molecular level. Not to kill, just enough to drop a god. And then he prepped the suit. Not just any suit. Mark Infinity Prime. Denser than a neutron star, laced with exotic particles stolen from Reed Richards' lab. Powered by a miniature singularity. A one-man army designed for one opponent only. He didn't tell Pepper, didn't tell Rhodey. This wasn't an Avengers-level threat. This was personal. 2 days before launch, he tested the Sunfall grid above the Pacific. Everything was green. Everything was ready. And then Steve Rogers showed up. He didn't break in. He didn't threaten anyone. He just walked into the lab, shield in one hand, a sealed drive in the other. You're making a mistake, Tony. Tony didn't look up from his interface. If you're here to lecture me, save it. Steve placed the drive on the table. I didn't come to stop you. I came to show you something. The drive decrypted itself the moment Stark glanced at it. Satellite footage, council communications, covert operations, and then Project Skyfall. It wasn't just about Superman. It was about metahumans. All of them. The council wasn't afraid of Clark. They were afraid of what his restraint meant for the rest. If Superman was willing to break their rules, maybe others would follow. Mutants, aliens, enhanced beings. And the council couldn't control that. They didn't want Superman dead. They wanted him first. Tony froze. His hands trembled. He'd been played. Why didn't you stop me sooner? Tony asked, voice low. Because I wasn't sure either, Steve said. But if we do this now, we set a precedent we can't take back. We send a message to every hero watching. Obey or be erased. Tony's mind raced. Every scenario, every contingency. Sunfall was already deployed. The satellites were in orbit. The countdown was live. Even if he aborted now, Clark already knows, Steve said. Tony looked up. What? He knew before you did. He saw coming. How? Steve nodded toward the arc reactor in Tony's chest. You think he hasn't been watching you too? In that moment, the lights flickered. The interface glitched. Tony's suits, all of them, began powering down one by one. Then the room shook, not from an explosion, from impact. A sonic boom that shattered the sound barrier just above the lab. Tony and Steve rushed outside. The sky was burning. Superman hovered in the clouds, eyes glowing, cape torn at the edges. But he wasn't attacking. He wasn't speaking. He was waiting. Tony turned to Steve. If I go out there, he won't kill you, but I might have to try and kill him. Steve didn't flinch. Then make sure you're right. The wind howled. The world held its breath. Iron Man stepped to the suit. Superman descended like a falling star. And the war between gods and men began. He could have ended it in a second. All he had to do was look. But he didn't. Even when Iron Man's repulsors lit up the sky and Sunfall's red beams slammed down like fire, Superman held back. He dodged. He restrained. And that scared Tony more than anything. Because no one dodges light, unless they've been faster than it for a long, long time. Superman didn't fight to win. He fought not to destroy. Even when the atmosphere was tearing apart from shockwaves, when debris from Stark's satellite fleet came crashing into the ocean, when Mark Infinity Prime dropped a solar nuke into low orbit, Superman absorbed it. Chest out, arms open. His heat vision never flared. His fists never clenched. He was asking a question with every movement. Why are you doing this, Tony? But Tony couldn't answer. Because all the logic, all the projections, all the fear, the things that made him say yes to the council, were falling apart. Superman didn't kill him, didn't even touch him, but he did something worse. He left, just vanished. No words, no final blow, just gone. The world waited for his retaliation. It never came. Instead, Superman started helping again. Quietly, silently, but differently. No more handshakes, no more press. No more speeches about hope. He would stop a hurricane, then vanish before people could even cheer. He'd catch a collapsing space station, then ghost through the Earth's core to avoid cameras. He started fixing things, systems, satellites, global infrastructure, without permission. Governments called it sabotage. Humanitarian agencies called it divine intervention. And people started choosing sides. In Brazil, a rebel faction declared Superman their guardian and stormed the capital with his symbol painted across tanks. In Paris, activists projected a hologram of him over the Eiffel Tower, claiming Earth now belongs to the just. And in the US, the White House quietly greenlit a new weapons program, God Killer Protocols. Tony knew exactly where that tech was going. Stark Tower, his own labs. They were building their own Superman. Or, worse, something to replace him. And still, Clark didn't respond. But he watched. Eyes in the sky. Presence like gravity. Never speaking, never attacking, but always there. That's what haunted everyone. He'd stopped fighting, but he hadn't stopped choosing. One day, a private plane carrying a known warlord exploded over Sudan. No one claimed responsibility. No one needed to. The debris showed no sign of missiles, no black box data, no mechanical failure. Just a high-speed impact from above. A vertical trajectory. Straight down. One hit. A Superman strike. For the first time, people asked the question out loud. What if he's not following our rules anymore? And worse, what if he's right not to? The council went dark. Every member stopped using encrypted comms. They started vanishing one by one. Not killed, not hunted, just resigning, leaving, disappearing into remote locations. They knew they weren't in control anymore. That's when Steve Rogers made his move. Not with a shield, with a speech. He stood on the ruins of a destroyed Hydra base, one Superman had leveled by himself, and spoke directly into the camera. Power without accountability is dictatorship, even if it looks like mercy, even if it feels like justice. Superman needs to speak. We need to know who he stands for, because right now it looks like he's standing for himself. The world listened, and so did Clark. 3 days later, he came down, not to the White House, not to the UN, but to Stark Tower, unarmed, alone. Tony met him on the roof. No suit, just a trembling glass of scotch in his hand. "I wasn't going to kill you," Tony said before Clark could speak. Superman didn't blink. "But I was prepared to," Tony added. Clark's voice was low, heavy. "I know. Why didn't you fight back?" Tony asked. Clark looked out over the city. "I've already lost control once. You weren't going to make me do it again." Tony froze. "What do you mean, once?" And then Superman told him. About Kandor, about Zod, about the time he didn't hold back, just once, and the crater he left on Mars where a city used to be. About the fear he carries every second of every day. Not of enemies, of himself. "I don't get to be angry," Clark said. "I don't get to make mistakes, because when I do, worlds end." Tony swallowed hard. "Then why are you still doing this? Saving people, fixing their messes." Clark turned to him. "Because if I stop, who will?" And that's when it hit Stark. This wasn't about politics. It wasn't about dominance or control. It was about burden. Superman had become something more than a hero. He was a conscience. One humanity couldn't silence. And now, with every silent act, every rescue without applause, every disaster prevented in secret, Clark was sending a message louder than any speech. You don't get to pretend anymore. The world was broken, and he was tired of asking for permission to fix it. Tony looked at him, really looked, and for the first time didn't see a threat. He saw a man carrying the weight of an entire planet's mistakes, trying not to break. And Tony knew he was too late to stop him, but maybe not too late to stand with him. Steve Rogers didn't come to fight, but the shield on his back said otherwise. He walked through Stark Tower's private hangar like a ghost. No press, no announcement, no Avengers badge. Just an old soldier carrying a warning no one had asked for. Tony met him halfway. "You're late," Stark muttered. "I had to think," Steve replied. "About what?" Steve looked him dead in the eyes. "Whether I trust you not to pull the trigger again." There was no sarcasm, no smirk, just silence. Tony turned and walked toward the edge of the platform. The city below didn't care that two legends stood 20 stories up, deciding the fate of the world. Traffic kept moving. Life went on. Maybe that's what made this harder. Because if they failed, it wouldn't be aliens or killer robots this time. It'd be them. "Superman's gone," Tony said. Steve raised an eyebrow. "Gone where?" "Off-grid. No signal. No satellites. He's not hiding, he's just out." "And you think he's done?" "No," Tony admitted. "I think he's preparing." Steve folded his arms. "Then we need to talk to him." Tony let out a bitter laugh. "You don't talk to a nuke, Cap. You pray it doesn't go off. He's not a weapon." "No. Then what is he?" "Because he's not human. He doesn't answer to any laws. No court. No country. He's making decisions based on what he feels is right. And we're just supposed to live with the fallout." Steve didn't flinch. "That sound familiar, Tony?" Tony froze. The air changed. "I remember a billionaire who once built an AI to protect the world without asking anyone. And when it went wrong, he didn't ask for permission to fix it. He just acted, because he thought he was right." "That was different," Tony snapped. "No," Steve said quietly. "It wasn't." Tony turned to face him. "I didn't have the power to wipe out a city with a blink. I didn't rewrite governments with my fists. Clark could rule this planet in a day, Cap. And right now, the only reason he hasn't is because he hasn't decided to." Steve walked to the edge beside him. "That's exactly why we have to reach him. He won't listen to me. Then he'll listen to me." Tony hesitated. "Why?" "Because he knows what I stand for." Tony scoffed. "Truth? Justice? The American way?" Steve looked down at the people far below. No. Accountability. And then he pulled a chip from his jacket. What's that? Everything the council tried to hide. Their files on Superman. Their kill protocols. Their secret plans for the rest of us. Tony took it slowly, scanned it with his implant. His face darkened. They were building prisons, he said, for metahumans, even the ones who hadn't done anything, because they were afraid. Tony looked up. We were afraid. Steve met his gaze. Then maybe we deserve to be. For a long time, neither spoke. Then Tony sighed. He said something to me. About restraint. About fear. Like he knows what happens if he breaks. Then he hasn't, Steve said. Yet. Then let's keep it that way. Tony stared at the chip again. You're asking me to trust him. After everything. I'm asking you to talk to him, not fight him. Tony paced, hands shaking. If he's already made up his mind, if he's planning something, then we find out together. You think we can stop him? Steve didn't answer immediately. I think we can remind him why he cared in the first place. Tony let out a slow breath. You still believe in that? Steve looked up at the sky. I have to. For the first time in weeks, Tony felt something under the anxiety. Hope. Thin. Fragile. But real. And that scared him more than anything. Because hope meant risk. Hope meant they might still fail. But it also meant Clark wasn't gone yet. He opened a secure line. Friday. Locate the last solar disruption anomaly. Backtrace its signature. Already on it, boss, the AI replied. A hologram lit the sky. A remote valley in Tibet, shielded by natural radiation. Energy signature, off the charts. Not Earth-born. Tony narrowed his eyes. He's there. Steve nodded. Then let's go. But as they turned toward the hangar, the building shook. Not from impact, from resonance. A sound that wasn't a sound. A pressure in the bones. They looked up. A glowing ring had appeared above the skyline. Perfect, silent, unnatural. And from its center, a ripple spread outward. Not red, not blue, green. A cold, intelligent green. Tony's face drained. Tell me that's not. It is, Steve said. Brainiac. Tony ran to the console. Friday, confirm identity. Matching signal to archived Kryptonian threat protocol. Designation, Kaluan entity. Status, level 10 world engine. Steve's voice was ice. That's not an invasion. Tony nodded grimly. That's a harvest. The tower lights flickered. Screens cracked. The power grid across Manhattan began to fail. And above it all, in the center of the ring, a shape began to form. Not a ship, a collector. Tony looked at Steve. We're out of time. Steve's jaw clenched. Then we'd better hope Superman hasn't given up on us yet. Tony activated the suit. This time we don't go to fight him. Steve raised his shield. We go to bring him home. And above them, the sky opened wide and Earth's reckoning began. Superman stood barefoot in the snow, eyes closed, palms to the sky. Above him, Brainiac's ring spread like a mechanical eclipse, blotting out the stars. Data streams cascaded downward like green lightning. Drones scanned every molecule of Earth's crust, stripping knowledge, absorbing history, measuring resistance. He didn't move, didn't blink, didn't breathe. He was listening to the fear, to the chaos already rising across the planet, to the terrified whispers of 8 billion hearts. That's when he heard them, the hum of arc reactors, the soft impact of a vibranium boot in the snow. Tony and Steve arrived in silence. The wind howled. Stark's armor hissed steam as it adjusted to the temperature. Cap's shield glinted beneath the pale sky. They didn't speak right away. Superman opened his eyes. There was no heat in them, no threat, just weariness. You shouldn't have come, he said softly. Tony took a step forward. You don't get to carry this alone. Clark tilted his head. You tried to kill me, and you let me live, Tony said. So maybe we're both tired of making the same mistakes. Steve stepped beside him. We need your help. Clark looked up at the ring in the sky. It's already begun. Tony's voice was steady. Then we end it. Superman didn't move. "You don't understand," he said. "Brainiac doesn't just invade. He archives, consumes, preserves the world's mind before it dies. And if he's here, he's already calculated that Earth won't survive what's coming." Steve spoke calmly. "Then let him be wrong." Superman turned slowly. "Hope is not a strategy." "No," Steve said, "but it's why we're still standing here." Superman's gaze locked with Tony's. "Do you trust me?" Clark asked. Tony hesitated for the briefest moment. "I don't trust anyone," he said, "but I believe you're not done fighting for us." That was enough. Without another word, Superman launched into the sky, an instant blur of red and gold, and shattered through the cloud layer like a cannonball of light. Tony followed. Steve activated his glider. "Friday, send a warning. Tell the world we're not giving up." The response crackled, already broadcasting, "Captain." Above Earth, the battle began. Brainiac's ring deployed its sentries, floating biotech monstrosities fused with data tendrils and living steel. They moved like thoughts, too fast to track, too precise to dodge. Superman met them head-on. The first wave turned to mist. He was faster than before, not holding back, not limiting himself to keep people comfortable. He moved like a force of nature. And for the first time since he arrived, Brainiac responded. A voice, cold and mechanical, filled every frequency on Earth. "Kal-El, you have deviated from your predicted evolution." Superman's eyes ignited. "Maybe your data's out of date." He tore through 2 collector cores before the sentence even finished. Tony weaved between tendrils, firing EMP flares and viral disruptors. "I've got the mainframe on visual. I need a clear shot." Steve's voice cut through. "Left flank. 3 drones on you." Superman intercepted them mid-air, driving one into the ocean like a comet and ripping the others apart with focused heat vision that lanced across the sky like a solar blade. Tony dove toward the central eye, a pulsing green orb embedded in the ring structure. It blinked and launched a wave of neural shock straight through his armor. Stark screamed. Systems fried. His suit spiraled. And then Superman caught him. One arm, effortless. He didn't say anything, just nodded. Tony stared into his face, breath shallow. "You're stronger than last time." I stopped holding back. Superman launched Tony back into altitude. "You can finish this. I'll keep him busy." "No," Tony said. "We do this together." Suddenly, the sky turned white. A gravity pulse surged from the collector ring, flattening clouds, distorting space. Steve gripped his shield, anchoring himself midair with a grappling charge. Time itself seemed to bend, and from the center of it all, Brainiac emerged. Not a drone, the real one, a being of impossible precision, a living computer forged from collapsed dimensions and dead civilizations. His voice wasn't sound, it was command. Earth is no longer required. Its patterns have been harvested. Its outcome, extinction. Superman's fists clenched. Not today. He charged, but Brainiac anticipated him. They collided midair. Shockwaves cracked the moon. Stark screamed into the comms. "Friday. Initiate override protocol. Engage Sunfall relics. Pull every satellite I've ever built. I'm bringing hell down." "Confirmed, boss. You're not going to like the energy cost. I'll write the check later." Steve soared toward Brainiac's lower drones, carving through them with surgical precision. Every blow counted. Every deflection bought seconds. Seconds Superman used to drive Brainiac into the upper atmosphere. But Brainiac adapted. He wrapped Clark in a containment matrix, a web of dark energy coded in Kryptonian, symbols twisted by artificial logic. Superman screamed. His cells began to collapse. He couldn't breathe, couldn't move. "Your compassion is inefficient," Brainiac said. "Your mercy obsolete." Tony's voice came through, weak but alive. "Clark." And then the override hit. The sky lit red. Sunfall woke up. Every Stark satellite, every orbital cannon, every forgotten AI weapon pointed downward and fired. Brainiac's matrix shattered. Superman roared back to life. He didn't attack. He rewrote physics. Moving faster than thought, he slammed into Brainiac with everything he had. dragging him through the upper thermosphere and back down like a meteor. The impact lit the sea on fire. The ring cracked. The collector began to collapse. Tony hovered above the wreckage, armor failing, bleeding under the plating. "Clark, it's over," he said. Superman stood in the ruins of Brainiac's core. Not yet. And with one last burst of heat vision, he incinerated the AI's heart. The sky returned to blue. The ring disintegrated into harmless dust, scattered into the wind. And Earth was quiet again. Superman fell to one knee, exhausted, not from the fight, but from everything that led to it. Steve landed beside him. "You okay?" Clark looked up at him, still standing. Tony dropped down, limping, armor cracked. "Yeah, well, I'm gonna need a new suit." They looked at each other. Everything said in silence. Forgiveness, respect, and something more painful, understanding. Superman stood. "I'm done asking for permission," he said. Steve nodded. "Just don't forget who you're fighting for." Tony extended a hand. "No speeches, but we're still here." Superman shook it. For the first time in weeks, he smiled. And somewhere far away, Earth exhaled. The world was still recovering when the sky split open again. But this time, it wasn't Brainiac. It was something older, something colder. A ripple tore through reality above the Arctic, the same spot where Tony first met the Council. But this wasn't them. This was absence, a hole in existence itself. Superman felt it first. He was orbiting above Earth, watching, listening, healing, when the pressure hit him. A presence with no gravity, a consciousness that wasn't alive, wasn't dead, just calculating. Then he heard it. Not a voice, a thought. Observation complete. Simulation stable. Phase 1. Success. Superman's heart stopped. Below, in the ruins of Brainiac's collector core, something blinked to life. Not Brainiac, a seed, left behind, buried beneath failsafes, hidden from even Superman's vision. It wasn't transmitting data. It was receiving it. Tony and Steve reached it too late. The seed opened. A single symbol pulsed once, red, then black. Not Kryptonian, not Coluan, anti-life. Steve stepped back. "Is that what I think it is?" Tony's voice cracked. No. No. This wasn't in the projections." Superman landed hard beside them. He didn't speak, because he knew. Brainiac wasn't trying to conquer Earth. He was softening it, preparing it for something worse. A silence deeper than space filled the air. Then, across every device, every screen, every frequency, a single perfect voice. "Darkseid is coming." Earth had survived the war, but the invasion hadn't even begun. Superman looked at the horizon, his cape torn, his hands shaking, but his eyes burned with resolve. He turned to Tony and Steve. "This time we're not waiting." And without another word, Superman took off, straight toward the edge of the solar system. Not to run, to warn, to prepare. Because gods had fallen, kings had bled, and now the real war was coming. The justice would be tested. The Avengers would be broken, and Earth would have to choose, obey or rise. But whatever came next, Superman had already decided. He wasn't just Earth's protector anymore. He was its last line, its last hope. And this time, he wasn't holding back.